Okay, so I am a bit too neurotic to play stealth games nowadays the way that developers seem to want me to play them. And what I mean by that is when I take out a guard in a stealth game, I want to know that he is never coming back again. I'm not typically satisfied by putting him to sleep, knowing that one of his friends can stumble across him later, wake him up, and then I have two guards to handle. I like to have my mind clear while I play these games, and so as a result, I also kind of like to murder everyone. The thing about stealth games these days is that a lot of them go out of their way to kind of shame you for doing that. I like to call it bitch stealth, where you have to play the whole game giving people hugs and putting them to sleep so that nobody gets hurt and everything is fine. I mean, for God's sake, it's a video game. Nathan Drake killed more people than World War II, and he's doing fine. So when Dishonored gives me a bunch of neat ways to kill people and then kind of tries to tell me not to kill people, it doesn't really sit right with me. And so enter Aragami, a stealth game inspired by Tenchu and Dishonored that does away with bitch stealth by letting you kill as many or as few people as you want with no real repercussion. The game puts you in control of the titular Aragami, which of course is Japanese for pissed off fucking ghost guy. You have been brought back to life by a young girl who is being held prisoner against her will in the hopes that you will come and rescue her from her capture. The story is serviceable, gets you from point A to point B, but ultimately not really much to write home about. There are a couple little twists and turns as you go, but for the most part I think these are things that the average player will have probably figured out long before the game is really ready to reveal them. But that's not the bread and butter of Aragami. What we're interested in is of course the stealth, which I'm happy to say performs quite nicely. Aragami is not a very tough ghost, and so you will find very quickly that you can't stand toe-to-toe with pretty much any enemy in the game. This is a purely stealth experience. There is really no combat to speak of, so don't go into this thinking that it's going to be like Dishonored or something like that. If Aragami gets spotted, it is typically curtains for him. It is pretty tough to recover from those situations. So this is pure stealth through and through for the entire game. Aragami has a number of different abilities at his disposal, but perhaps the most important is his Shadow Step, which functions kind of like the Blink ability in Dishonored, except in this case you can only use it when you are aiming at a shadow on the ground. Should you find yourself in a situation where there is no shadow to teleport to, the right trigger will allow you to create a shadow temporarily on the ground so that you can jump around more effectively. That's of course not Aragami's only set of powers. He has abilities that pretty much fit into two categories, what are called demon powers, which are generally abilities that help you kill people more effectively, or ghost powers, which are abilities that will distract enemies and kind of get them out of your path so that you can sneak by them more effectively. Now, it's worth mentioning that you are not locked into any one path when playing this game, so you are free to pretty much build out Aragami's skills in whatever way you see fit. You're also pretty much free to kill whoever you want and spare whoever you want. You'll notice at the end of each level there will be little badges that are awarded, particularly ones if you never trip an alarm, ones if you kill every enemy on the level, and then ones if you kill no one on the level. And I was worried initially that you wouldn't be able to get an S rank on a level unless you got one of those badges, meaning you would always have to commit to one style of play. But actually the game's pretty well rounded, and if you do happen to kill a couple people but not everybody, it's still totally reasonable for you to get an S rank when finishing a level. For the most part, the game is pretty remarkably polished for an indie title. I really enjoyed the game's art style and cel-shaded graphics. I did notice a couple small bugs, a particularly annoying one where I was unable to vanish enemies' corpses sometimes, and at first I thought it was just because I was killing people in areas that were too light, but later on I noticed that I couldn't vanish some people in the shadows as well, so I think it's just kind of an overall glitch in the game from what I can tell. Checkpoints can be a tiny bit unforgiving sometimes, and they're also kind of inconsistent when closing and reopening the game. Sometimes it would start me back in the middle of the level right where I left off. Other times I'd reopen the game and it would start me all the way over at the beginning, so I'm not really sure exactly how the checkpoint system is supposed to work in that situation. The only other big issue I had with the game are the boss battles, and there are only 2, maybe 3, depending on what you count as a boss. The first boss is particularly irritating, and I can't help but wonder if maybe there's some text or something that's missing, or like a hint that was supposed to pop up while you were fighting him, but I was stuck there for a little bit longer than I think I should have. I imagine it's probably something that'll get smoothed out or patched after the game is released. Or take this boss, for example, who's an archer who shoots at you. I got kind of just tired of dealing with her in this early section, so I just went ahead and sprinted all the way past her. So not great. Doesn't really, not exactly a high point of the game. But the core stealth is great, and the core gameplay feels really good. The blink mechanic is done perfectly, and it's really satisfying zipping around levels and setting traps for enemies and kind of just handling situations in whatever way you see fit. If you're someone who likes to go pacifist, I would maybe advise you that Aragami really doesn't let you deal with enemies in any way other than killing them. So if you decide to let everyone live, it's going to pretty much just be because you are constantly avoiding them. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just know that it's not like other games where you can put people to sleep or move bodies and things like that. If you decide to deal with an enemy, you're going to kill them. These small problems hold the game back from perfection, but overall, I really enjoyed my time with Aragami. The game runs for about 8 hours, and that's kind of rushing it. If you go and start searching for all the scrolls that will allow you to upgrade your powers, I can easily see you hitting 10 or 12 hours in this game before you're done. So if you're a fan of the stealth genre, I would absolutely suggest checking this one out. We are going to be giving it a 4 out of 5. So as usual, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Go check out our website, enemyslime.com, because we love you guys, and we will see you next time.